Let's bring in Sina Azodi for more analysis. He is a Middle East Studies Director at George Washington University. Sina, thank you for being with us on the program. This appointment, of course, marks the first time power has been passed down from father to son since the 1979 revolution. How significant of a moment is this for the Islamic Republic?
Very much so. First of all, it turns the Islamic Republic to yet another dynasty in the long list of the Persian dynasties, from all the way from the Sassanians to Safavids, and then the Qajar dynasty, Pahlavi dynasty, and now we have a Khamenei dynasty. And ironically, it goes against the wishes, at least from what we know from the public information, that the late Ayatollah Khamenei, Sayyid Ali Khamenei, who was one of the original revolutionaries, had advised against choosing Mojtaba as the next supreme leader. It is, I think, an important development because we are now seeing a second generation revolutionary, no longer the first generation, who is now in charge. He has, as it was in your program, he has a lot of backing from the IRGC. And we had one of the scenarios that people had contemplated before this war started for many years was that actually IRGC would, once Ayatollah Khamenei leaves the scene, IRGC would push someone to the top position of the leadership, with them running the affairs of the country in the background. We also have to keep in mind that, like his father, Mojtaba Khamenei does not have the religious requirements or qualifications to become the supreme leader. And I was just seeing that his title was suddenly changed to Ayatollah to kind of suggest that he is now qualified, which tells you how everything in Iran is political, even religious requirements.
I want to delve a bit deeper into the relationship that he's formed with the IRCG. It seems like with this appointment, the IRGC has played a very important role. So just give us some more information on how he's formed that relationship over the years without having had a political position within the political sphere of Iran.
I am not really sure because the relationship has always been shady. We have seen bits and pieces of information, but we know for certain that he had developed very close ties to the IRGC, and this is why I'm saying that IRGC, at least in the short term, will have a lot of power, while Mojtaba Khamenei in a way socializes into his new job and perhaps could over time expand its power and limit or constrain IRGC. But at least for a short time, because we believe that he owes the job because of the IRGC's pressure and actions to create consensus among the other clergy, we should expect that, again, in a short term, he would, in a way, his powers would be limited.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, those powers are going to have a lot of effect on the course of this war, of course. Do you think that he'll continue, for the most part, conducting and implementing his father's policies, or can we expect something different from Mojtaba Khamenei moving forward?
At least for a short time, I believe that he will, because he needs to show that he is also a hardened revolutionary. But over time, he might be more, let's say, pragmatic. He's younger, which means that he could be more flexible compared to his late father, who was 86. And as I think all your audience knows, it is extremely difficult to change the point of view or convince an 86-year-old man who is driven in a way by ideology and social upbringing. So in a way, I think that Mojtaba would be more pragmatic. However, again, I do want to emphasize that for the short period, we don't know how long, but for a short period of time, he will be a little weaker because he owes the job to the IRGC, and IRGC will play a more significant role.
You heard from our correspondent Andy before crossing over to you on Trump's position regarding the appointment of Mojtaba Khamenei, although we haven't heard an official statement in reaction to this appointment yet, but he had warned against it, saying that he needs to have a say in whoever assumes that position. How do you think the U.S. is going to respond to this appointment, and how big of a threat is Mojtaba Khamenei under currently, as you know, the U.S. and Israel has had a history of conducting assassination attempts and assassinations, for that matter, within Iran?
I think it's a very good question. We don't know what has happened behind the scene. We don't know whether there was some sort of a deal between Iranians and the Americans, and whether there was some sort of a guarantee from the Americans that he would not be targeted if this new leader would be more, let's say, amenable to U.S. demands. We don't know that. But if this is the case, which I think is likely, then I think the Americans could restrain the Israelis. However, if there's nothing, if there's no dealing, and I'm sure that the Iranians really did not pay attention into what Donald Trump was saying, then he could be in danger of, especially the Israelis' assassination attempts. But I do also say that because of the experience that they've had, I am sure that the IRGC will do its best to keep Khamenei safe for the time being that the war is going on.
And I want to stay with the U.S. for a moment here, because Trump is expected to seek a multi-billion-dollar package approval from Congress to continue this war, of course, on Iran. Do you think that he'll get congressional support, as the popularity of this war is very low within the country, particular from the Democrats within Congress? And does this somewhat give us an idea, him seeking a multi-billion-dollar package, give us an idea of how long he's planning to extend this war on Iran?
Well, one thing we know for sure, that the Trump administration and the Israelis have failed to achieve their objective, which is to force Iranians into political coercion and political surrender. There's no question that in terms of from a military standpoint, there has been a lot of death and destruction. We've seen the apocalyptic pictures from Tehran, but there's no single evidence that Iranians are backing down. So this is why you're seeing the U.S. and the Israelis are escalating their attacks on civilian infrastructure to make the lives of many civilians even harder in the war. But whether he would be able to get the funding and appropriations for more war, I think he could, because Republicans have the majority. There's a good chance that they can. We might also have some defections from the Democratic Party to pass the bill.
I want to also cross to the situation in the GCC. Iran has been under fire for, of course, attacking countries across the GCC. What does this mean for the rapprochement that we've seen between Iran and nations in that region, particularly with Saudi Arabia? And will Mojtaba Khamenei's appointment strengthen or weaken future ties with Arab states in that region, do you think?
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't exactly know how, and we know little about Mojtaba Khamenei's foreign policy, but I would expect that Iran will continue its attempts to have more positive relations with the GCC, especially Saudis, because they've learned that they cannot, and this is also true for the Saudis, that they cannot live without each other, and the win and lose games are not conducive to prosperity for either side. Now, given whatever is happening in the region and the war, the relationship has soured, But then this is why you see Pezeshkian went on and published a clip apologizing to the Arab countries of the Persian Gulf. I think Iran will continue to try to maintain positive relations with the GCC.
Okay, Sina Azodi, thank you so much for being with us here on TRT World and sharing that analysis with us.